Good morning. I call this meeting of the Job Growth, Energy Affordability Policy and Finance Committee to order. Today is Monday, March 20th. The first order of business is approval of the minutes from Friday, March 17th. Representative Davney moves approval of those minutes. Is there any discussion, changes, or corrections? Seeing none, and Representative Davney is fired up about the minutes today. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion prevails. The minutes are adopted. Members, just a couple of verify what's been announced, but a couple of changes in the schedule. First of all, 2 bills have been rescheduled for tomorrow. That's House File 6, the Fabian bill, House File 759, the Metza bill. In addition, House File 1330, at the author's request, we have pulled that from the agenda, so we will not be hearing that bill today. The first bill we have up is Representative McDonald, and the chair moves House File 1327 for possible inclusion in a later bill. Representative McDonald, to your bill.
Good morning, Chair Garofalo and members. What is the most important job in the world? President of the United States, a neurosurgeon, a scientist, a teacher, a doctor, a legislator? How about a parent, a father, a mother? Let's get back to the father. My bill today, 1327, will deal with how to prepare and create a better father to his children. Too many children in Minnesota are growing up without the financial or emotional support of a positive and involved father. And kids raised in households without a father are 5 times more likely to experience poverty than children in a 2-parent household. The Father Project of Goodwill Easter Seals is a national model here in Minnesota with quality partners in Park Rapids, St. Cloud, and Rochester, who together have created a place where dads get what they need in order to become an essential part of raising a healthy, happy, and secure children. In increasing wages, child support payments, and parenting skills are just some of the program's economic impact on families and communities. Conservative estimates from the Wilder research shows that a 3-to-1 ratio return on investment. But more importantly than any financial investment is the project brings families together, putting children first. House File 1327 builds on this established and successful model of supporting kids and their dads across this great state of Minnesota. Here today to discuss the father projects are Michael Worth Davis from the Goodwill Easter Seals, Scott Maloney with the Family Services of Rochester, and Kyle Herring with Rochester Area Fathers Network. So, Mr. Chair, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Representative McDonald. And if we have any testifiers come forward, the Representative McDonald invited. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Michael Worth Davis. I am President and CEO of Goodwill Easter Seals, Minnesota. Thank you to Representative McDonald and Chair Garofalo, and as well as members of the committee for this opportunity to speak to you about our work to stabilize and empower fathers with the parenting and workforce development skills needed to help their children, their families, and our communities thrive. As a leader in employment services for nearly 100 years, Goodwill Easter Seals Minnesota provides customized support to eliminate barriers to work and independence. We have been intentionally serving dads as part of our work through our Father Project for the past 15 years. 5 years ago, we were fortunate to receive federal funding through a Responsible Fatherhood grant to expand the programs across the state from the Twin Cities to Park Rapids, St. Cloud, and Rochester. Together with our key partners, Family Services Rochester and St. Joseph's Health in Park Rapids, we serve nearly 2,000 men across all locations serving fathers from diverse communities. We have forged strong partnerships with local child support and legal service agencies to find solutions and success to helping primarily low-income fathers connect with their children emotionally and support them financially, helping fathers and mothers put children first. Our experience is that many non-custodial fathers want to be in the lives of their children, but they need the tools and support to be successful in doing so. These dads are not deadbeat dads, they're dead broke dads. Our goal is to help them get jobs, train for better jobs, and move into careers as they become positive, productive workers and parents. The program works. and we have the data to support it. As was mentioned, a return on investment study by the Wilder Foundation showed a long-term financial return of $3 for every dollar invested in the Father Project. Evaluation outcomes have shown increased partnering skills, educational achievement, job placement, and benefits for the children of participating families. We are at a critical juncture in fatherhood programming. There are no longer, as of 2015, any federal fatherhood funds coming to any programs in Minnesota. An investment by the state would help us leverage other resources through private fundraising as well as our social enterprise model. Thank you for the opportunity to highlight the importance of supporting fathers across Minnesota. Please let me introduce one of our community partners in this important work, Scott Mahoney.
Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed to the testimony.
Scott Maloney. Good morning. As I just said, my name is Scott Maloney. I'm the executive director at Family Service Rochester, a nonprofit in the Rochester community that serves approximately 3,500 families a year. And we've been in that community for over 50 years. I'm here today because too many children are growing up without positive involvement of fathers in their life, a situation that disproportionately impacts low-income families and particularly is reflected in racial disparities in our state. Our organization provides child welfare services, mental health services, and services focused towards senior independence. We have a long history of the development of programming and sustainability. However, when Goodwill Easter Seals lost their funding in 2015, it essentially ended the formal Father Project services in Rochester. With that said, from 2011 to 2015, we served over 500 fathers. And I emphasize that because as somebody that's been in the human services field for over 20 years, I've never seen a program take off so fast and serve so many people in a relatively short period of time. I think it emphasizes the need for services for fathers in Rochester and beyond. We developed staff trained in supporting fathers in achieving economic and parenting skills that they passed on to their children. We created and leveraged community partnerships that did not formally exist prior, ultimately leading to the Fatherhood Network in Rochester. We expanded our fathers' services in the community by providing services at our local alternative learning center, our adult detention center, and our local residential treatment program for chemical abuse. We provided ongoing monthly father-child activities that created bonding opportunities for dad, their children, and their families. And lastly, for these efforts, Family Service Rochester's Fatherhood Project was awarded or recognized as Fatherhood Program of the Year by the Minnesota Fathers and Families Network. We support this pending legislation that would allocate funding to the Father Project through Goodwill Easter Seals, and we hope to continue to be a partner. Thank you. And lastly, I'd like to introduce Kyle Herring from the Rochester Area Fatherhood Network.
Welcome to the committee. Please proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Kyle Herring. I'm the father of one in Rochester. I'm the chair of Rochester Area Fatherhood Network that began in 2010. We operate under the arm of Family Service Rochester, and they are our fiscal agent, but we lack funds to host the Father Project to carry out all its services. Our network has been a resource for the multidisciplinary core made up of professionals and fathers. We range from those at nonprofits to county and state that are working with fathers around the area. Sometimes that's before birth, to some coming from prison, others from treatment, and some that are just working to pay child support. Giving fathers a voice and those that didn't have a father in their lives hope to change and to break this cycle is the crux and passion I personally have. The Father Project can give men tools to improve themselves, their families, and most importantly for their children, by example. Male-focused parenting, support, activities, and employment services are in need of funding. 2 weeks ago, I attended a presentation of the ACES documentary, Paper Tigers, hosted by Jim Perry at the REACH program at Stewartville High School. Last week was Next Chapter Ministries' annual fundraiser. They have 2 homes for men in Rochester that are making an impact in fathers' lives by nurturing men and fathers. Kids that are in hope that are in and hopefully exiting our juvenile detention center for good are met with and assisted. This Friday, our Fatherhood Network is having a panel discussion presentation on ACEs at Minnesota Teen Challenge in Rochester. We'll teach what ACEs mean to 150 fathers and professionals to counteract the impact of ACEs and build resilience. Appropriating funding for the Father Project will create better children directly by their father's improvement in their lives and the overall health of the family unit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative McDonald, do you have any other invited testifiers?
Gentlemen? Mr. Chair, I do not.
This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public who wish to testify in favor or voice concerns with the bill? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion and move to member questions or comments. Questions from members of the committee? Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for bringing this bill, Representative McDonald. And what I would like is to get some more information on this program as far as their budget and what, curriculums they might use in these parenting classes and that sort of thing. And also, I'd like to know what partners they have in the private sector. Maybe that's a question that they could answer now. I like the fact that, they're working with Teen Challenge and this Next Chapter Ministries and some others, but I'd like to know if there's private sector support for them as well. And, in the future, if they could email their budget information to us and what curriculums they use, that would be helpful. So I don't know if somebody wants to come and answer that question about
Representative McDonald, can you work with the advocates and get that information sent to the committee administrator or committee legislative assistant so we can, in addition to Representative Scott, so the members of the committee can get that?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Representative Scott, that is a good question. It is a big ask, and I think it was only fair that the organizations share with us their budgets and their mission, some of their success, and who other private entities. I would safely presume that they have the support of nonprofit groups and the faith community throughout the state in helping bring fathers to their children.
Thank you.
Any closing comments, Representative McDonald? Representative Dabney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I tried to get some attention earlier. I had the privilege of interacting with the Father Project in a previous job where I came in and provided personal finance education to the dads in my community through a previous employer, and was able to get engaged with the dads as well as with the staff and come to understand the multidimensional work that they do with these dads. They do really good work, and it's a part of our society, the dads, as you started out with, Representative McDonald, that we often don't give enough attention to and support to. We're probably actually not very good at providing support to families. Things like paid family leave would be a major support for moms and dads and their children. But the Father Project does good work, and I appreciate you bringing the bill forward.
Representative Clark.
Mr. Chairman, Representative McDonald, when you send that information to Representative Scott, maybe could you include in that some information about the job training and job assistance part of the work that the Father's Project does? Just when you send it in, you don't need to do it right now, but just that if you could just, there could be kind of a summary or some examples that help us understand, because this is a jobs committee, so I'm interested in hearing what that might be.
Representative McDonald.
Mr. Chair, Representative Clark, that's a great comment, and I got good people behind me who are helping me with the draft of the legislation, and I will ensure that we have that information.
Representative McDonald, the chair renews his motion to have House File 1327 laid over for possible inclusion in a later bill. Thank you, Representative McDonald.
Mr. Chair, I sincerely thank you for giving the opportunity for me to hear this bill. And members, thanks so much.
Representative O'Driscoll. Representative Scott moves House File 1377 for possible inclusion in, Representative Wagenius?
Look, I'm just noting that there is an amendment to this bill, and it looks like it perhaps is a,
Representative Wagenius, can you use the microphone, please?
I will, there's a delete-all amendment to this bill. And I'm hoping, since this was, citizens have not had an opportunity to see these amendments, I don't think it was posted on Friday, that it, before we adopt it, that folks would understand exactly what the amendment says.
Okay, well, Representative Scott moves House File 1377 for possible inclusion in a later bill. Representative O'Driscoll, is the DE1 amendment the author's amendment?
Mr. Chair, yes, it is.
Right, and Mr. Eloff, is the research summary for the delete all amendment, or is it for the original House file?
Mr. Chair, the research summary was written before the amendment was received.
Okay, and so Representative O'Driscoll, would you wish to cover the DE1 amendment, or should I have staff do that?
Mr. Chair, I do want to have someone move the DE1 amendment. And to Representative Ogenius's question, what we've been doing as this bill has been moving through the House and the Senate is we've been trying to form the stakeholder group and making sure that we've got the right catch on the number of people and groups that should be involved in this. And so what we have done is, if you look at lines 2.4 through 2.8, we've added some additional members to the stakeholder group that would be discussing the issue that's the subject matter of this particular bill.
And Representative O'Driscoll, are there any other changes to the delete all amendment?
To the best of my knowledge, there are no other changes to the DE1 amendment.
Is there any additional discussion from members of the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor of adoption of the DE1 amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion prevails. Representative O'Driscoll, to your bill, as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. What we're talking about today is a program called PACE, which is Property Assessed Energy Related Loans on Property, or Clean Energy on Property. So PACE, Property Assessed Clean Energy. I'm not here today in front of the Energy Committee to debate the merits of the program, specifically the benefits that homeowners or others would derive from this. I'm here today from a consumer protection standpoint. In the state of Minnesota, we've allowed PACE-type improvements and financing to be done on commercial and industrial properties. Minnesota law also allows this to be extended to residential properties. However, there are no disclosure requirements and no additional information that's required under law to let consumers know what might happen to them, their property, and their future should they not pay on a PACE-related loan. Currently, under Minnesota law, if a homeowner wants to go out and purchase property and doesn't have the cash to be able to make that purchase, they'll oftentimes go and secure financing on that. A mortgage is oftentimes a first position private lien on property. The only liens that take precedent over mortgage liens on property would be that of property tax liens or special assessments. And that's where the PACE loan or the PACE financing comes into play. Under Minnesota Statute 429, local units of government are allowed to provide or apply special assessments against real estate for such things as sidewalks, roads, curb, gutter, things that benefit the property. Clearly, the activities that are covered in PACE would benefit the property, but again, consumers have no idea or understanding what that would mean. No disclosures are required at this time. What ends up happening is if an individual wants to make energy improvements to their home, the city or county or jurisdiction that they live in may have sold bonds. A homeowner agrees to certain energy conservation and energy improvements in their homes, not knowing that this will be applied to their property as a special assessment, which would take priority over their mortgage loan. It increases the amount of debt on property without an individual knowing specifically how that could affect their property. Dare I take us back to 10 years ago in the state of Minnesota and across the country when we had issues related to property owners in the housing crisis. What would end up happening is the mortgage would become a junior lien or further down on claim on the property after property taxes that might not have been paid or the loans that are secured by the special assessment under the PACE loan on the property. Again, I'm not here to debate the merits of the PACE program specifically and the energy improvements. I'm here today to advocate for consumers in a bipartisan way that we have authors and sponsors of this bill to put a working group together to work through the issues for informed consumer use of these types of improvements. Again, consumer protection is extremely important to all of us. Mr. Chair, I have a couple of testifiers who would like to speak to the matter this morning as well.
Thank you. Welcome to the committee. Please proceed with your testimony and state your name for the tape so 100 years from now we know who you are.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Paul Egger. I'm Vice President of Governmental Affairs for the Minnesota Association of Realtors. Our members represent buyers and sellers throughout the state every day on transactions. And I'm here today in strong support of Representative O'Driscoll's House File 1377. In a minute, you're also going to be hearing from Mr. Ron Elwood with Legal Aid, but I also, in the interest of time, we're going to limit our testimony to 2 people today, but Teresa Kuvas with the Minnesota Bankers Association and Joe Sullivan with Center for Energy and Environment are also here and available to answer questions. It's been a pleasure working with those groups on this issue as well. Representative O'Driscoll did a great job of explaining the issue and why the bill is before you. Just want to add a few comments to supplement the explanation that he provided. And Minnesota Realtors do believe that Minnesota needs to develop and implement consumer protection measures before residential PACE loans are made available to Minnesota homeowners for financing energy improvements. In your packets today, you should have 3 items that go along with Representative O'Driscoll's bill. There's a sheet that explains our support for this bill with the logos of the Minnesota Realtors and the other organizations that support this legislation. But you also should have 2 articles that have appeared in the Wall Street Journal over the last couple of months that go into some pretty interesting detail about the problems that have been encountered with PACE loans in California. This bill does create the stakeholder process so that we can get ahead of the curve. You're going to hear from Mr. Elwood in a minute about how important it is that for once on an issue like this, we can get ahead of the curve rather than trying to play catch up as we've had to do on other issues in the past. You think back to the housing crash, the foreclosure crisis, but even looking in the very recent past to California. We do not want to repeat the California experience here. Homeowners need to understand the benefits as well as the risks of PACE financing, where an energy efficiency project is financed by adding an assessment to a homeowner's property tax bill that is paid back over time. If homeowners are not well informed at the time they take out a PACE loan, they may be surprised and frustrated by a number of items, such as the amount their property taxes increase to pay back the loan, the potential delays or even cancellations when they want to sell their home due to a buyer's unwillingness to assume the responsibility for paying back the PACE loan which is attached to the property. And also, as Representative O'Driscoll mentioned, the first lien position of the PACE loan may also reduce the pool of eligible buyers because of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's unwillingness to purchase mortgages for a property with a PACE lien. We do support the stakeholder process in this bill so that the Department of Commerce and all interested parties can think through and recommend to the legislature next session the consumer protections that Minnesota homeowners deserve. Without this legislation, Mr. Chair, we are concerned that oftentimes realtors will be left explaining to homeowners trying to sell homes with PACE loans attached what they should have been adequately informed of and consented to up front when they took out the loan. I want to thank again Representative O'Driscoll for bringing the bill forward, and thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Representative O'Driscoll, do you have any other invited testifiers?
We do have Mr. Elwood from Legal Aid who'd like to comment as well.
Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed to the testimony, Mr. Elwood.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Garofalo and members of the committee. Ron Elwood with Legal Aid. I'd like to thank Representative O'Driscoll for bringing this bill forward, and Legal Aid is in strong support of it as well. You know, I don't think there's any argument that we should encourage market-based options to choose cleaner energy, but this is a loan, but it is unlike any other loan that we would be making in the market, particularly for things like windows and other sorts of improvements. It is offered by an unregulated energy services company offering unregulated loans. There are no statutory guardrails around them at all. In addition to the deficiencies that Representative O'Driscoll talked about regarding disclosures, I think we have serious deficiencies in terms of some of the statutory protections that apply to other loans. Secondly, this is equity-based lending. It is based on the value of your home, not on your ability to pay. And I think that should, and certainly for us, sets off serious alarm bells that we want to look at more carefully. So I think the approach that is being taken here in terms of getting together a group of stakeholders, which under the amendment has been expanded to make sure that it is as inclusive as possible, is exactly the way we should be going about this, in a thoughtful, deliberative, careful way, to make sure that PACE can move forward under the proper conditions and with the proper statutory protections. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Representative O'Driscoll, do you have any other invited testifiers?
Mr. Chair, in the interest of time, as Mr. Ager said, we had a number of people who supported this. We just wanted to bring a sampling of people forward today. That concludes the testimony that I have in the presentation.
Okay. Representative, as this is a public hearing, are there other members of the public who wish to testify with, in favor or with concerns of the bill? And Representative O'Driscoll, did you see that we got a fiscal note on this bill?
Mr. Chair, I did.
Okay, so what's, later on today on the floor, let's touch base with, 'cause I think,
Mr. Chair, I'm sure you see the benefits of this, and we'll take it under advisement.
welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Julie Padilla. I am the Regional Director for Market Expansion and Policy for Renovate America. Renovate America is the largest and leading residential PACE provider in the country. We've done $2.2 billion worth of financing of property tax assessments under the PACE program in California and Missouri, and we are about to launch in Florida as well, and that's over 91,000 homes that have been improved through this policy. This tool was adopted in Minnesota in 2010. Representative O'Driscoll's point is correct. There has not been to date a residential program active in Minnesota, and we have been exploring this marketplace for the past 2 years in conjunction with a number of stakeholder meetings with the Department of Commerce and others. As we looked through in Chapter 216C 436, the number of current consumer protections that are currently in policy, as well as kind of the national framework as PACE has developed. So over the last year, there has been a significant number of advancements in PACE as an industry nationally, including FHA and VA coming out in July of 2016, supporting PACE and supporting PACE as a superior lien on properties. The Department of Energy in November came out with consumer protection frameworks for best practices for residential PACE, which has then been translated into our trade group association, PACE Nations, consumer protection policies, which is in this document, which I didn't distribute, but I'd be happy to provide to anyone. And it provides a framework including disclosures modeled after CFPB's Know Before You Owe, as well as specific requirements related to senior protections and others. And you should have in your packet a couple of documents that reflect how HERO, that's our program, compares to other financing programs, and then the senior protections we do. So I do just want to dispel the myth that residential PACE is unregulated. We are only allowed to operate in the communities that have asked us to participate. Part of the reason we aren't here in Minnesota yet is because we have to have permission from every local government that wants to provide PACE to their communities. And so we have over 500 communities that have asked us to enter, and they regulate us, as well as our bond issuing partners. So we are regulated. We do have consumer protections in place, but we also agree with Representative O'Driscoll and the other testifiers that Minnesota's law, while it has some consumer protections, could certainly be expanded upon. So we do not have issue with the stakeholder process, but we are concerned about this policy being kind of taken off the table for a period of time, because that gives companies like mine a lot of regulatory uncertainty and a lack of kind of push to invest in the state in the future. So we just want to make sure we state that for the record, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you,
Very
Mr.
much for
Chair.
your testimony. Just a quick question. So is it fair to state that the issue that is preventing consensus on this issue is the matter of the blank off matter and whether it's temporary or permanent, and for what duration? Is that a correct statement?
Mr. Chair, that's correct, yes.
Representative O'Driscoll, would you concur with that statement?
That, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, it does seem to come down to that issue as to how do we get to that, and the question becoming if we have a date definite and a date certain, does that mean some stakeholders will drag their feet to get to that point? And the other question, if it's open-ended, does that mean others won't come to the table to negotiate? The classic whenever you have these kinds of things where you form study groups and task forces.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this bill to us, Representative O'Driscoll. We appreciate
My
it.
pleasure, Mr. Chair.
So is there anyone from the League of Minnesota Cities here? If you could, please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Craig Johnson, League of Minnesota Cities.
And Mr. Johnson, I don't believe you signed up to testify, but I'm just wondering, this is my 13th year in the legislature, and do you know why you guys keep spelling my name wrong on the letter?
Mr. Chair, I apologize, and that's entirely my doing. It's not an organizational policy that I'm aware of.
Okay, all right. It's just, I didn't know if it was perhaps it was a policy, if this was a retaliation for other bills that perhaps the chair is authoring. So I just wanted to make sure, just for the record, a real easy way to remember it. The vowels go A-O, A-O. That's how the back of it goes. So I didn't know. While you're up here, did you want to tell me that you didn't like my haircut or my tie looks bad? Or
Mr. Chair, no, and I haven't seen if you have a puppy or not to comment on whether it's cute either. So I'll just stop with the damage I've already done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. This is a public hearing. Are there any other members of the public who wish to testify in favor or voice concerns with the bill? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion and move to member questions and comments. Representative Newberger and then Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative O'Driscoll, I was just looking at the fiscal note here, and we have $83,000 appropriation for a .75 FTE. Is this money going to, in your opinion, is this going to pay for an existing FTE, or does this create an additional .75?
Representative O'Driscoll.
Mr. Chair, Representative Newberger, I would love to be able to answer that question, but this is the third committee stop, and Commerce has not testified one time on the background on that, so I'm not sure if they see it as a major issue or not, or whether or not we even need the $81,000, because not spoken to whether or not they need to have that additional money. It's simply a fiscal note, whether they're going to take that under the umbrella of consumer protection with the charge of their department.
Representative Newberger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And then as I was reading through the fiscal note here, the bill says that that this committee will be meeting regularly. As I look at the fiscal note, it was based on the no-fault task force, which met 9 times in 7 months. Is that your anticipation for this group as well, to meet as much as that group did?
Representative O'Driscoll.
Mr. Chair, Representative Newberger, I want the group to meet as many times as they need to get to the right answer to protect consumers.
Thank you.
Representative Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative O'Driscoll, I think one of the other questions that was raised by one of the witnesses was the issue of equity-based lending. Is that something you expect this task force will be looking at?
Representative O'Driscoll.
Mr. Chair, Representative Clark, it is not the position, in my opinion, of the task force to deal with the equity-based. It is a broader issue. First and foremost, I want disclosure so people know what they're getting into when they go in to participate in a plan like this. We've had a number of issues in this country with foreclosures, with people having property values decline. And as a result of that decline, they end up owing more debt on the property. And anybody who's a first, second lien holder or a junior lien holder behind them on property will end up getting next to nothing on this, which I fear will affect the lending market in the state of Minnesota if it's not properly regulated. So the testifier from Renovate America said, well, we are regulated. We'll be regulated by the local jurisdictions. They have no ability to affect state or federal lending practices. And so I'm very concerned about what could happen to residents in our state, particularly in communities that have established neighborhoods that could end up benefiting from this, and people going in with a misconception or with no idea what they're looking at. I don't know if that necessarily answers your question, Representative Clark, but it certainly gives wider breadth to the issue.
Representative Clark.
Stuart, well, I support your reason for bringing the bill. I thought the comment about the issue of equity-based lending was maybe something the stakeholder group could consider at some point, because that will have a lot to do with whether or not there'll be able to be, people will be able to use this. I do have another question, or did you have some more? Did you want to say something else about that?
Well, Representative Clark, if you take a look at page 2, lines 2.23 through 2.24, it does talk about using commonly accepted underwriting standards, which again would help us with the issues of being able to sell the first mortgages to Fannie Mae, Ginnie Mae, Freddie Mac, the customary 3 quasi-federal government secondary mortgage market players.
Okay. So just one other question, Mr. Chair.
Clark.
One of the things that energy, renovation does affect are the health of the people who are in the homes. It's really a big issue. I know that you've got AARP and others who will be on the stakeholders here, and I'm just thinking, I'm aware of constituents where little children were in very drafty, dangerous homes that caused them to have health problems. So I'm just wondering on your stakeholder group, whether you might want someone who has a public health perspective. If you just consider that, I would ask you to think about that.
Representative O'Driscoll, any closing comments? Oh, excuse me, Representative Dabney, my apologies.
Well, can I answer the
Representative
question
O'Driscoll,
Representative Clark had, Mr. Chair? Representative Clark, we are not defined to the number of people who can be at the table on this. As this bill has gone through both the House and the Senate, we've tried to find the right catch group to be able to do this. And the amendment that I offered or asked to be added on mimics what the Senate has done, so we're trying to keep the language consistent on here. I don't see that as an issue of bringing in the Department of Health or others as a stakeholder on this. We want to make sure that we get the right answer at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Representative Dabney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. AO, did I get that right?
That's right, Representative
All right,
Dabney.
thank you. Representative O'Driscoll, first, thank you for recognizing the valuable role of regulation of a free market to ensure a balance of interests. The AO is the joke part. But seriously, to recognize the importance of regulating a free market to assure that there's a balance of interests and to assure that the interests not just of the two parties to the agreement are balanced, but the community's interests are balanced. As you pointed out, if there is a run on foreclosures again, I may not be foreclosed on, but it may, as the last foreclosure crisis did, negatively impact my equity in my home and my home values. So I appreciate your recognition of that. I am wondering on page 2, line 15, and this is an aside, what is free alienation? It's just not a term I'm familiar with.
Representative O'Driscoll.
Well, Mr. Chair, Representative Davany, given the fact that I've got 30-plus years of experience in the real estate industry and professionally trained probably more than 50% of the people who are licensed in the state of Minnesota personally, I can give you a direct answer. That alienation means giving up rights in your property, so giving them up freely. So if you sell your home and give the buyer the deed, that's free alienation. You are selling with your blessings and transferring your rights on the property. A mortgage is an example of free alienation. You give me money, I give you a lien on my property. So it's severing of rights, either voluntarily or involuntary. So free would be with your blessings.
I don't know, Representative O'Driscoll, it doesn't sound like you know what you're talking about.
One of the joys of the legislature, Mr. Chair, is you learn something new every day. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative O'Driscoll.
Any closing comments, Representative O'Driscoll?
You know, I wasn't going to, but I am going to just pull this together. We go back to the housing crisis because that's what the committee was talking about. Most of the loans that were sold to Fannie Mae, Ginnie Mae, Freddie Mac had problems with them. They didn't meet the standard underwriting criteria. So Fannie Mae, Ginnie Mae, Freddie Mac ended up having to go through foreclosure. Where does Fannie Mae, Ginnie Mae, and Freddie Mac get their money? From people who are looking to try to get a predictable fixed income. They buy into Fannie Mae, Ginnie Mae, Freddie Mac with the idea of getting monthly or annual income to live on. The people that I think of when we talk about that are grandmas, grandpas, retired people. I do not want to see them have to go through a second mortgage crisis or lien crisis because of the state of Minnesota not properly regulating the disclosure on this particular product. And with that, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Representative Scott renews her motion to have House File 1377 as amended laid over for possible inclusion in a later bill. Thanks, Representative O'Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members.
National Resources Research Institute. Doctor. And after this presentation, we'll be taking up House File 1882, the West Bill. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good morning, Chairman Garofalo, AO. I'm an EE, Rolf Weberg. I'm the Executive Director at the Natural Resources Research Institute.
If members who are leaving the room, if you could, please take your conversations outside. Thank you. Please continue with your testimony.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chairman Garofalo and the rest of the committee for an opportunity to give you a brief overview of NRRI and what we're doing specifically in the energy field. It would be of interest to you. I've spoken with Representative Garofalo a couple of times about this. He encouraged me to come and make you aware of what we're doing. I'm a recent transplant back to the state of Minnesota. I'm a UMD graduate. I left for 30 years and came back after a 25-year career with DuPont to take up this role at the University of Minnesota. It's great to be back, and after 2 days of retirement, I've had 3 years on the work, right, that I'm going to talk about today. NRRI is nationally unique. You don't find another institute like this anywhere else in the country where scientists working under one roof can talk about anything from an algae bloom to a iron pellet composition, from a moose population to a sustainable harvest of our hardwoods in the state. We've got a 30-year history of applied research, and I'm happy to talk to you about the energy and renewable energy programs that we've got at NRI. 1983, NRI was created by the legislature as essentially an economic development unit to develop Minnesota's natural resources in a sustainable way to create jobs. And we take that job very seriously, particularly as a land-grant university. Recently, our mission has been rewritten to talk about 3 key words. Number 1 is deliver, something I believe in, delivering results for the state, delivering solutions, which are much more comprehensive than simply an answer, and balancing our economy, resources, and environment to support resilient communities. We do this with 3 approaches. 1 is to reduce waste. Waste is bad business. Waste is, if we can reduce our waste, we also become more competitive. We need to broaden our portfolio of products coming out of our industries, and we also need to drive higher value. And a lot of our raw materials, our natural resources are going out of the state for somebody else to make the money. We should keep it in the state so we can reinvest. We're organized around 6 initiatives. They're all integrated. You can't talk about one without talking about the other 5, because where you have an industry, you need to have a secondary and tertiary economy to support that with the rest of our natural resources. Today I'm going to speak specifically about the renewable energy programs that we've got. But before I do that, people always wonder, what in the heck is applied research? Well, this is to help understand that. A lot of basic research happens at the University of Minnesota, at our agencies, and as well as our industry partners and NGOs. Our job is to span from the basic research to getting something that's actually usable and applicable so people can use it and utilize our natural resources to create jobs. We do not do this by ourselves. I make that very, very clear. We collaborate very deeply with our industry partners, and you'll see that in a few moments. I want to talk about our bioeconomy programs. These are at the Coleraine site in Coleraine, Minnesota. We have a site in Duluth and in Coleraine. This is a busy slide, and I'm going to build it up for you. What we've got right now that we're commissioning today is a biomass processing unit that can process up to 5 to 8 tons of wood waste today. When you go to a sawmill, up to 60% of a tree is waste. We aren't using all that waste any longer to make paper because we're using less paper. What do we do with it? That's a real question, because if we bury it, that's a cost to the company. It makes them less competitive. What we've got is something called torrefaction, which if you think about roasting coffee, it's a dark roast. It looks a lot like this material here. It's roasting the wood very dark, and what it does is it dries off the water and the oils, and you're left with a concentrated carbon unit. Similar to what we do with our iron resources, we concentrate an iron pellet. Here we're concentrating the carbon. What we've got here has about 95% of the BTU content of a piece of Western coal. It's a biochar, which is a hyper charcoal. It makes a solid fuel, can replace coal in a coal-fired power plant up to 30% with no capex. That's been tested with a partner, Minnesota Power. Just like the Ginsu knife commercial, that's not all. We can also think about another process we are putting online this year. This is called hydrothermal carbonization, which is basically a pressure cooker to do the same thing with wet waste. Think about milfoil and the invasive species in our waters here in Minnesota that we harvest and pull out of our water, and then we landfill it, and of course that creates methane. We can use that as a means to create another energy source, as well as a binder for sticking these things together. That gives us another opportunity to use something we don't know what to do with. This is turning on this year. And finally, we're working with a number of companies here in Minneapolis, as well as in Elk River, to take this material and turn it into something called syngas, which is basically breaking it down into the most fundamental parts, carbon monoxide and hydrogen, to reform into liquid fuels, jet fuel and diesel are available. There's a small company named Delta that's looking for jet fuel in this part of the country. We can also access chemicals and also access other materials such as composites and polymers. This is the long-term view. It's higher value. It gets more out of our resources. Just to give you a quick view, this is what it looks like. The torrefaction takes the raw wood chips to a dark roast. Looks like coal. You can look at this if you want. It's compressed in a pellet. Nobody else knows how to do this right now in the country. We've got people coming around from around the country to ask for help with this. It can be stored outside as coal. It grinds just like coal in the grinder. HTC, you see down below that, creates kind of a mud, which you can dewater, compress into pellets very similar to that, and burn just as a fuel. That's what it looks like. What we do is we take things from the test tube and make it industrially relevant to reduce risk to investment. This is what we do with these fuels, and we're looking for other opportunities as well. Another thing you'll see in this facility will be one of the world's most efficient steam engines. Back in the World War II, we stopped working on it, but Portugal and Argentina did not. We're going to have one of these here for remote power generation based on a lot of our woody biomass. One last thing we're doing right now, which I think is fairly exciting, working with our friends in the MPCA and our DNR, as well as the St. Anthony's Falls Lab here at the University of Minnesota. We completed 2 reports looking at how do we store energy. When you get over 30% renewable energy, you better have a wide spot in your line. You're going to have your system collapse. In other words, you need a battery. We just finished 2 studies, one using pump hydro, pumping uphill and letting it run down when you need the energy back. There are 6 sites in the state using our pit lakes in northern Minnesota that could use that. Also looking at underground caverns in the middle of the state for compressed air. Same idea, compress the air and let it back out through a turbine to regenerate your energy. But most exciting, what we're working with a company in Canada right now where they've put big bladders underneath Lake Ontario in this case, 400 feet under. These are the same balloons they raise ships off the bottom of the ocean when they sink. But if you fill that with water at 400-foot head pressure, there's enough pressure to push that back out through a turbine with 67% efficiency. That makes something, we have an $18 billion a year industry or bill that goes out of the state every year for the state of Minnesota. We don't have energy here. If we could save one of those by creating a battery in the middle of the state, what does that do for us? And this is what's exciting about this, because we're going to be modeling that with this company. So that's a quick overview of where we are. NRI is, Representative Garofalo asked me to come and give you this exposure. I would like to extend, as I did to you, to the whole committee, an invitation to come and see this and see what we could do, what we can do together. Right now, NRI has a number of bills in front of the legislature because the funding for NRI is unsustainable. It hasn't changed since 1983. We won't be doing this work if we don't get the support from the legislature, and I appreciate your consideration of that. And with that, I will stop my brief exposure and thank you, Chairman, once again, and the committee members for this attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Lehman.
Chair Garofalo, thank you, and members. Good try, Bill. I just wanted to say hi to my friend, Dr. Weberg. I served on the NRI board. Unfortunately, I was just leaving the board as he was arriving as the new hire. He brings new energy and a new vision to NRI. People might say, well, why haven't we heard about you in the past? They've kind of been a low-level visibility. But what I would like to just comment on is, as people might know, in northeastern Minnesota, much of the economy is based on natural resources. And the pull and tug is always between protecting the environment while developing good jobs. I see NRI as it being in a perfect place, using science, using research, using the ability to bring new ideas to commercialization as a great opportunity. And just would like to follow up with one question for Dr. Weberg, and that is, can you just tell us where you haven't really come to the legislature in the past. You've had some basic funding. Where has your funding come from in the past?
Dr. Weaver?
Chairman Garofalo, Representative Lehman, our funding overall has come from a state special that's been given from the legislature directly to NRRI that hasn't changed since 1983. And we use that and leverage that 4.5x to pull in grants from outside. They could be federal grants, state grants, and other. We also work directly with industry in contracts directly with industry, which are proprietary contracts that we get paid for is to round out our budget.
Representative Lehman, any follow-up?
No, I guess the question would be, so are you looking right now to increase that state special, or what are you looking for?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Dr. Weber.
Chairman, Representative, right now, we need it to be increased. It's 2.4 million a year right now. With today's inflation, that's about $900,000. Just adjusting for inflation would bring it to about $6 million, $6.2 million. In order to support the unit that has gone from 30 people to 140, one site to 2, 30 projects a year to over 280, that's not enough. Right now, I have people working for me that get 10% of their pay covered. That means if I hired you for $100,000, I'd say, here's $10,000, but you got to raise your 90, raise your overhead another 40. Then to pay for your research, you need to raise at least a minimum of 150 to 200, and then that's unsustainable. Particularly since I'm going to have a third of the place retiring in the next 3 years. It's going to be very difficult to get the top talent to come and work there. So it's unsustainable. In order to pay that group of people at 50%, which is significantly less than what a university typically does, we would be at $8 million. The bill in front of the legislature right now is asking for $1 million next year and $3 million ongoing for the following to get a 5.4 total. And that's a first step. I'm happy to take it. We need to justify our ability to deliver, and I'm fine with that. But we do need the support for the 1 and the 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Just a quick question. So I've got Bill and other committees. Representative Newberg, you're going to chair here in a second. First of all, what were the efficiency factors that you've seen for the best pumped hydro and best compressed air projects?
The compressed air that we've been working with has been in the order of 45 to 55%. And what this particular technology does, it harvests the heat of compression and then puts it back in, which makes the efficiency significantly better. They've got an operating system in Toronto that we've visited twice and verified that.
And how about pumped hydro? What's the best efficiency factor you've seen?
You know, I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to come back at you with that, which I will.
And then last question for myself before we go to other member questions. How much funding have you guys received historically from the Renewable Development Fund?
I don't think we have a whole lot there.
Yeah.
That's we don't have any renewable. We got some money from the Excel Fund, which we used to put this kiln in. Other than that, we've had a lot of funding for the that we've pulled from industry and industry partners.
Representative Sundin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Weaver, I've toured that facility in Duluth, and it's just absolutely amazing what goes on inside that your main research center. You touch on so many different issues. I'm just wondering about patents. You apply for patents? Have you received patents? Is there a return on our state investment regarding any patents?
To the testifier.
Chairman, Representative, it's a great question. NRI has a strong history of a lot of patents. In fact, one of the people that just retired last month was the highest awarded patented scientist in the university. The kicker is turning those patents into a commercial success, as Representative Lehman pointed out. That is something we are driving right now. To do so, since I've come on, intellectual property is a major focus. We are bringing the Office of Technology Commercialization at the University of Minnesota is going to be putting one of their people at NRI to pull that kind of information out so that we can create that IP portfolio that isn't just patents, it's also trade secrets that we can offer. And that's a return on investment that has to come back to the state. So I'm highly committed to driving that. We do have some royalties coming in. We need to do a better job.
Representative Sundin, follow-up?
Thank you.
Any further member questions? No further member questions? Doctor, thank you for this presentation, and thank you for coming down to show us this. It was very informative.
Thank you very much.
Members, we'll be moving on to our next bill. I believe it's Representative Nolan West, House File 1882. Representative West, we'll give you a second to get settled in there. Representative West, would you like to present your bill here? I believe we're laying this over for possible inclusion in a later bill.
All right, I'd like to move House File 1882 to be laid over, to be included in a later bill. And House File 1882 provides Minnesota Power and Otter Tail Power with more flexibility on meeting their small solar energy mandate. It also, for least cost resource planning, allows them to take into account energy needs, not just capacity. And it expands the list of factors that the PUC must consider when evaluating preference for renewable energy facilities. This represents a pretty long effort by Minnesota Power and Otter Tail Power to meet with environmental stakeholders and the PUC, as well as the Department of Commerce, to ensure that there's as much broad support and concerns addressed as possible. And I'd like to just emphasize, this doesn't change the overall solar mandate. You know, this could, changing the small mandate might allow them to build even more solar rather than just buying renewable energy credits, and I think that benefits the state overall. And I have other testifiers with me, Thor Underdahl from Minnesota Power.
Representative West, let's, before we
yeah.
move on, let's
I'd like to move the amendment.
Yeah, we're going to move would you like to move the A1 amendment to tighten up your bill as you'd like to have it?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair?
And
Mr. Chair?
Representative Wagenius.
Since I understand our normal is to just get a bill in the shape the author would want it, but these amendments were not posted early, so it would be helpful if the author would explain what the amendment does before we adopt it.
Thank you, Representative Wagenius. What we will do here is we will have Bob Eloff from Research give an explanation here as to what this amendment does, and then members will vote on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Turning to line 1.2 of the amendment, the bill as drafted would require a public utility between 50 and 200,000 retail electric customers to make a good faith effort to meet the goal that's currently in the solar energy standard of 10% of the 1.5% being from smaller facilities. The amendment removes that good faith effort and simply requires the utilities between those sizes to meet the 10% of 1.5% with solar energy procured from solar with a nameplate capacity of 40 kilowatts or less. The current solar energy standard says the 10% has to come from 20 kilowatts or less. So that's one change that's being made. Next line 1.3 simply changes the date on which these new standards for resource plan filings are to be met. Same thing with lines 1.4 and 1.5. Lines 1.7 and 8 simply change the wording of, on page 3, line 18, about what the commission takes into account in approving renewable or non-renewable energy facilities, and adds at the bottom of the page, line 1.11 of the amendment, an additional category that has the commission considering in determining whether a renewable facility should be ordered, that utility and ratepayer impacts from reduced exposure to fuel price volatility, changes in transmission costs, and environmental compliance and other costs be taken into account when the commission is making that decision.
All right, thank you, Mr. Eloff. Members, we'll go ahead and Representative West, if you want to move your amendment, all those in favor of adopting the A1 amendment indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion fails. Again, Representative West, to your amended bill, you have testifiers. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Thor Underdahl with Minnesota Power. I first just want to thank Representative West for bringing forward this bill and having the opportunity to express our support for House File 1882. And I'll speak to the amendment, and the amendment was a product of a variety of conversations with stakeholders, as Representative West alluded to, the Department of Commerce, the PUC, and environmental advocacy groups, to make sure that the bill was in the shape that we could garner as much support as possible. So that's the product of that's the amendment's a product of that. Minnesota Power has a long history of supporting small-scale solar. Our solar rebate program, SolarSense, was first put into place over a decade ago in 2004. Since its inception, SolarSense has awarded over $1.3 million in rebates to customer-sited solar projects. Yet, despite the history of support for small-scale solar, at the end of 2016, and after more than a decade of incentive programs being in place, Minnesota Power had only 186 customer-sited solar PV installations in our service territory. This year, in an effort to meet the small-scale solar carve-out, Minnesota Power submitted a revised SolarSense rebate program, which triples our small-scale solar incentives. Excuse me. This revised program will offer nearly $2 million in small-scale solar incentives from 2017 to 2019. This increase was approved by the Public Utilities Commission and will be an important part of our efforts towards meeting the small-scale solar carve-out. However, at the end of the day, given that these are customer-sited solar systems, we cannot guarantee uptake of these incentives to meet our small solar requirements. Allowing flexibility in the definition of small-scale solar for Otter Tail Power and Minnesota Power would allow us to work on additional projects and services that could encourage more solar in northern Minnesota. While we are both investor-owned utilities like Xcel Energy, Minnesota Power and Otter Tail Power serve significantly different customer demographics and geography. These changes would help to address these differences while still ensuring a robust and diverse makeup of solar resources in northern Minnesota. We also support the clarification on lines 3.3 to 3.4 that aligns statutory language with past practice of applying 50 and 75% modeling projections on the basis of energy requirements rather than capacity. This change also aligns with compliance for the state renewable energy standard, which is currently applied on the basis of energy. Finally, the renewable preference is an important part of the Integrated Resource Planning Statute, and as such, it is paramount that proper considerations are given to those elements of the public interest that will become particularly acute as we move to higher penetration levels of renewable resources. Thus, we see clearly outlining certain considerations such as reliability, replacement power, and ancillary services, along with other important considerations such as fuel cost hedging, portfolio diversification, and avoidance of environmental control costs as prudent additions to be consistently applied as part of this statute. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Chair and members, for the opportunity to speak in support of House File 1882. I'm happy to take any questions from the committee.
Representative West, did you have any other testifiers?
Yes, I also have Lauren Lautog from Otter Tail Power.
Welcome to the committee. Please state your name.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Lauren Lautog, and I work with Otter Tail Power in Fergus Falls. My company supports the testimony that was just offered by Mr. Underdahl, and I'll do my best not to just simply repeat his comments. And I'd like to reiterate Mr. Underdahl's assertion that what you see in the bill as amended represents our work with several stakeholder environmental and renewable energy organizations, as well as the Department of Commerce and the Minnesota Public Utilities Commission. Now, that's not to suggest that they each necessarily endorse every section or subdivision of the bill, but we've done our very best to listen to their concerns and make changes to the bill that we agreed would improve its clarity, its accuracy, and its usefulness. First, with respect to the modifications that the bill would make to the small solar requirement in Section 1 of the bill, my company's experience with solar dates only to 2013 when we passed the solar mandate. Since 2013, Otter Tail Power has seen just 20 small solar systems installed for a total of just 217 kilowatts of capacity. That's just 5 customers per year so far. In order to meet our less than 20 kilowatt solar requirement detailed in 216B.1691 by 2020, Our company would have to convince nearly 6 customers per month to install solar on their homes or small businesses between today and December 2020. Given the customer demographics of Greater Minnesota that Mr. Underdahl referred to, this looks like the proverbial bridge too far, and my company would most likely be forced to buy small solar energy credits from the Midwest Renewable Energy Trading System beginning in 2020. We believe that the small solar flexibility provisions offered in House File 1882 would give us at least a fighting chance to achieve our small solar requirement by 2020. The modifications made in Section 2, Subdivision 2 of the bill are really just a housekeeping matter from my company's perspective. As Mr. Underdahl pointed out, it modifies the wording of the statute to sync up with what has been actual practice by utilities and by the Commission in developing integrated resource plans over the past 10 years. And finally, the changes made in Section 3 of the bill would modify the list of public interest factors that the Minnesota PUC must consider when comparing renewable generating facilities to non-renewable generating facilities. The state of Minnesota made a choice in 1993 that would ensure that when it comes to choosing among electric generating resources, that, as economists say, all things being equal, the state will always prefer a renewable generating facility over a non-renewable energy facility. The additions made to the list of public interest factors that should influence the Commission's choice would now be detailed in subparagraphs 2 through 4 in Subdivision 4 of Minnesota Statute 216B.2422. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, that concludes my testimony in support of House File 1882. Mr. Underdahl and I would be happy to answer any other questions that the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Representative West, any further testifiers?
No, that's all.
This is the public hearing. Anyone from the public who would like to testify in favor or against this bill? Come on down, sir. Did you register with the page? Which one? Welcome to the committee, sir. Please state your name for the record. I think we have 2 others that are registered for this bill. On deck will be, I believe it's Rick Gravok. So if you're here, Rick, be ready to go next, sir. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Tom Karas, spelled K-A-R-A-S, in case there's any question there with the chairman. I appreciate the work that the committee is doing here. Energy is never a real easy thing for anybody to deal with. Part of my impetus to come down here today stemmed from a presentation from our last 2 testifiers at a trade association a few weeks ago. I heard some things there that that really needed to be addressed. But my comments here today really are just aimed at the small solar standard in 1882, the adjustments to it. The Minnesota Renewable Energy Credit Exchange is a new Minnesota public benefit corporation formed to provide Minnesota jobs as a new company startup, seeded by the now famous 2013 solar legislation. The legislative product in 2013 was a big step forward for the solar industry in Minnesota, and it's pretty well documented that it has delivered some big results. There are nearly 2,000 Minnesotans in the solar business, a 131% increase since the inception of the legislation. These Minnesota jobs are directly related to that legislative effort. Because of it, ratepayers also enjoy clean, economical energy that is immune to future fuel-related price fluctuations. This legislation in its entirety is a clean, stable economic development resource machine, and the start of my business was part of it. I'm here today to speak to 1882 that looks to amend part of this wildly successful legislation. We know that there's a small sliver of that solar development that's reserved in the legislative package. The smallest sliver recognized the smallest of Minnesota's clean energy heroes. In pure Minnesota fashion, we created a package of legislation that covers everyone, even the little guys. The legislation asks utilities to reserve a mere 10% of an already 1.5%. We're talking about a sliver here for programs that benefit the smallest. A sliver of a program, to be sure, but as these testifiers are also, I believe, adding credibility, it's a very important sliver to be considered. But I now have to ask why the utility industry is trying to kick the legs out of the smallest slice of a wildly successful program, the little slice that was designed to help the little guys in Minnesota. And I'll digress here for just a moment. I appreciate the historical content that the other two testifiers brought as far as when they started their programs. And I would just like to point out that, yes, it was started in 2013. We are 4 years down the road. And if they're having a problem, I would assume that it was available, visible, much earlier than now, if there was a serious effort put toward this. Now, I've discussed this program with the two utilities that were here this morning as part of my due diligence effort before my investors agreed to fund the Minnesota Renewable Energy Credit Exchange. We identified this market opportunity. We created a public benefit corporation. We designed a website, social media platforms. We created content. And now our time and investment hinges on whether you decide to allow a last-minute change to an existing law that has proven successful in so many ways. Just why? The Minnesota Rec Exchange stands ready to provide this service at a competitive price. The purchase of renewable energy credits is an opportunity that is available. At this trade association presentation I heard a couple of weeks ago, the idea of potentially going out of state to procure these recs was brought up as the language was a little ambiguous. Maybe they could go outside the state. But there's plenty of opportunity to achieve this goal by working with clean energy heroes across Minnesota. But their heart, the utility's heart, has to be in it. Their best efforts so far are just aimed at providing a burden, not respecting and acting to achieve a goal. All industries and new businesses seek a stable market to operate in with legislative regulations that they can count on. The Minnesota Rec Exchange followed the rules with over 2 years of due diligence. We have taken the appropriate steps along the way, and just when we are about to launch this business, we discover a legislative backdoor effort to take away our market. We're just little guys trying to help other little guys. And now we're looking at our market being slammed for apparently it's an inconvenience maybe or some other problem. The Minnesota Rec Exchange asked the committee to leave the original small solar standard in place. It's a brilliant sliver of a bright, successful solar program that's brought jobs, economic development, and international respect to our state. Allowing big utility lobbyists to present a song and dance about how hard this work would be so you then have to change the rules would be disrespectful, in my opinion, to the rule of law, the legislature, and the citizens of Minnesota. It would also send a message to other small business entrepreneurs that legislation in Minnesota is only potentially to work when big business wants it to. Please do not approve House File 1882 in regards to changing the small solar standard, and please take time to clarify that the 2013 small solar standard was to be used within the confines of the state of Minnesota. We look forward to a bright business future in Minnesota servicing this market and creating jobs with our local clean energy heroes. We just ask that the rules not be changed midstream as this effort appears to do. I'd be happy to meet with any of the members of the committee to explain this program in greater detail. Time is always of the essence in these things, and energy is a time-consuming topic. Very much have any opportunities to answer questions now, but as always, I always appreciate the opportunity to come and represent clean energy down here in St. Paul.
Thank you. Is there additional public testimony? Do I just go from this
I'm here to speak against.
Hi, welcome to the committee. Please
Yes,
state your
thank
name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
I will. Chair Garofalo, gentlemen and women, servant leaders of the state, thank you for hearing us today. And I will give you my name. I am a person of faith and a deacon in the Lutheran Church, which is nationally and locally strongly committed to climate justice and care of creation. But I'm here as an individual citizen. My name, which I inherited, is Amy Blumen Shine. So it's clearly my calling to advocate for solar energy. And as you know, the majority of Minnesotans want clean water and clean energy. And let me also speak for energy resilience, especially in these stormy times. I live in the city, but our good friends on a farm in southeast Minnesota put solar cells on their roof with no subsidy. I don't know which cooperative they were part of, but there was no subsidy for them except the federal tax credit. They've also figured out how to store power in their electric car's battery, which has been very helpful when the lines are down. Instead of blocking such developments, these decentralized resilience strategies could be enhanced in anticipation of future outages. I'm one of the lucky ones who benefited from the forward-thinking leaders in the state in prior years. We have solar cells on the roof of our house. Over the last 3 years, our PVs have provided 150, that's 50%, of our electricity use. And my neighbors tell me it makes our roof look sexy. And by the way, all of the investment made good, clean jobs in Minnesota. When opportunities for solar development opened up recently in Minnesota, my fellow citizens responded overwhelmingly to get on board the solar expansion. So overwhelmingly, in fact, that the dinosaur industries have responded to block their initiatives in various ways, which I consider to be an immoral assault on progress and technology and our children's future. People do die soon and later from use of dinosaur energy. Dinosaur energy comes with extreme extraction methods and early deaths, both for the workers and their families and those who suffer from the toxic effects of pollution. The energy from my roof has come with no harm to anyone. It is crazy to hurt people by turning back to the dinosaurs instead of to the well-being and flourishing of the sun. Give us the power to generate power. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Next on the list, I have, is it Rick Graverick? Welcome to the committee.
Oh, thank you. I'd actually like to reserve my testimony for HF 2248. Can I be put on that list instead?
Okay. We'll go ahead and make that modification. Thank you. And are there any other members of the public who wish to testify in favor or voice concerns with the bill? Seeing none, and Representative West, have we adopted the A1 amendment already? Yes. Thank you. Questions or comments from members of the committee? Representative Rarick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of our earlier testifiers mentioned a question about where solar RECs could come from. Could one of the utilities please come and clarify that for us, where that would have to come from?
Welcome to the committee, sir. And again, please state your name so we know who's talking.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative Rarick. I appreciate the question. And first, I'd like to say that I think we're in agreement with the Thor Underdahl with Minnesota Power. My apologies, Mr. Chair and Representative Rarick. I think we're in agreement with the previous testifiers that we support small-scale solar energy. And as I alluded to in my testimony, we've just committed tripling our incentives, nearly $2 million over the next 3 years, to help support those small-scale customer-sited solar systems, and we'll continue to do those. In regards to your question on renewable energy credits, this actually came up in the 2015 Solar Energy Standard Report. It's docket 16342, and I quote, the staff stated, "Staff notes that there is no requirement that the solar used to meet the solar energy standard be in state." So I believe that's what the testifier alluded to. His specific company is around Minnesota Renewable Energy Credits. Utilities in the state of Minnesota typically use MRETS, the Midwest Renewable Energy Trading System, and there is no specific requirement, just like there's no specific requirement that our generation be in the state of Minnesota. Many of us have generation outside of the state of Minnesota. There is no requirement that the renewable energy credits be from the state of Minnesota as well. So what this bill and the solar portion of it entails to do is to try to help us avoid buying those renewable energy credits from anywhere, somewhere else potentially, and get real solar in northern Minnesota. Because as we've seen, solar begets solar. So if people see more solar in Winger, Minnesota, they'll talk about it, they'll be educated on it, they'll have the opportunity to talk to their neighbors and friends and relatives about it. So we support that, so we think we're pretty much in alignment with the previous testifiers, although for individual credits being traded, that's where we would probably differ. We'd rather see solar built than credits traded. Thanks.
Representative Burke, Representative Wagenius.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative West, when I heard the testimony from, this is not for this testifier, if you just want.
Well, I would actually prefer the testifier stay there, though, because I have a couple questions.
Okay, all right, that's fine then. Well, from this testifier, I heard that they are doubling down on providing incentives for individuals in Minnesota. I did not hear the same testimony from Otter Tail Power. I did not hear those incentives. So one of the things that concerns me greatly about your bill is that an individual in Minnesota, because there are no incentives that are working from Otter Tail Power, and the ones from Minnesota Power actually may work, and we're not waiting to see if they do work, is we're taking away opportunities that individuals in outstate Minnesota have. So that's super concerning, since actually should be more concerning for you. You guys ran on this, we're going to give Minnesotans more opportunities, and now you're saying, nah, we don't want them to have as many opportunities as folks in the cities. So this, I'm opposed to your bill because it doesn't give opportunities or give the utilities any incentive to give incentives to ordinary Minnesotans who want to put up rooftop solar. So as this testifier says, solar begets solar. But in this case, we're going to go the other way. No solar begets no solar. That's one thing. But I also would just like to observe that these two companies were just recently put on the Norwegian pension fund has said that these two companies are ones we will not invest in. That should be troubling to all of us, and it's because of their mix of energy. Folks are disinvesting in companies around the globe now, and they will be following the Norwegian government, or the Norwegian pension fund, which has a ton of money and does good work. So it's, I think, doubling down on disinvesting from local companies is not a good idea either. So it's just another reason to oppose the bill. But I would like to hear both Otter Tail and Minnesota Power comment on the Norwegian's recent move.
And again, please restate your name again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Thor Underdahl with Minnesota Power, and thank you for the question. Representative Wagenius, I think we had a good chance to talk about this in your office as well, too. And I think plainly stated, Minnesota Power has taken an active role in trying to diversify our portfolio. We were almost 95% coal and 5% renewables in 2005, and we're now up to about 75%, almost 80%, or excuse me, 70% coal, down to 70% coal, and 20-30% renewables, and we'll be further expanding that in the coming future. So we're making every effort we can to do that in a way that still maintains safety, reliability, affordability, and brings forward environmental stewardship. So we ultimately can't decide for the Norwegian government how they invest or divest their funds, but we think that we're taking the responsible and appropriate approach to making the energy transformation for our customers and for our region of the state.
And I believe Representative Wagenius wanted to hear from Otter Tail Power as well. So, sir, if you could state your name as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Lauren Lontag with Otter Tail Power. Let's see, which question shall I address first.
I think the Norway question is.
The Norwegian government. I'm only 7/8 Norwegian, so I can't speak entirely on this. As Mr. Underdahl pointed out, I mean, companies can choose to do whatever they like, or their government. In the case of Norway, they have a massive national surplus instead of a national debt, and so they invest in many places around the world. But what people need to realize is there is a transition going on all over the world away from fossil fuels in electric generation to renewables and natural gas. That transition will take time. If we accelerate that through legislation, what we will do is we will abandon assets early that have been paid for and are used and useful for ratepayers, and we will create higher rates for ratepayers. If we do it in an orderly and orderly fashion in transition to renewables over time, we will be able to do it at the best possible cost for our ratepayers. And every utility that serves electricity in Minnesota seeks to provide electricity at the best possible cost to all of its customers, business customers, and residential customers.
And so I have a question for Mr. Underdahl and Mr. Lugtug.
You ask.
So let me understand this right. When it comes to rooftop solar, well, let's first of all start with where we're at with wind power right now. We see power purchase agreements for large wind projects that are coming in at $20 a megawatt hour, 100% carbon free, $20 a megawatt hour. We also see, not in Minnesota, but in other states with a more sunny climate, utility scale solar projects of $40 to $50 a megawatt hour. And so those are two ways to create emissions-free energy that are working right now. But what we're dealing with here is a part of Minnesota law where, number one, when these rooftop solar projects, they get a 30% investment tax credit, incentive/subsidy from the federal government. In Minnesota, we have a Made in Minnesota solar program, which funds this at a cost of at least $200 a megawatt hour. We have net metering built into it. We have a renewable energy standard. On top of the renewable energy standard, we have a solar mandate. And then on top of the solar mandate, we have a rooftop solar mandate. So I've listed off 7 items there. I mean, at some point, don't we say that if you need 7 different incentives and mandates in law, that maybe we shouldn't be building this stuff? So explain to me, I mean, Representative West, I understand what your bill is accomplishing and looking at, but from my perspective, why shouldn't we blow away one of the 7 mandates?
Mr. Chair, you've asked me that question before, and the best answer I can give you is we have customers who want to do solar. And Representative Wagenius was correct. I did not mention that we have solar incentives. The only incentives we have are those required by the statute. We must spend up to 1.5% of our energy efficiency budget on solar each year. So, for example, we've done a 20 kilowatt solar system with the University of Minnesota Morris that uses Made in Minnesota money. Outside of that mandated cost, or that money that must go to solar, Otter Tail Power wants to do solar in the same way that the co-ops are allowed to do solar. That is, there are customers who want to do solar. There's going to be solar in everyone's mix. There's wind in everyone's mix, but some people want more. So, for example, the University of Minnesota Crookston, they want to do more. Bemidji State, the city of Bemidji, we're seeing entities like these who want to do more solar. Now, the key is they're saying they're willing to do it without any charge to all of the other ratepayers. That's very important to us. If we have people who want to help us meet our solar mandate goal, and they're willing to do it at their own cost, then why would we charge all of our other ratepayers for the same thing? That would make no sense. So when we source wind, in the past we've sourced wind, we source what we call universal wind. All customers benefit, all customers pay. In fact, they pay in exact proportion to the amount they consume. It's almost Marxian in that regard. On the other hand, if you have private solar or private wind, the private individual who has the means to put something up on their house, why would average ratepayers, especially middle and low income ratepayers, subsidize solar for the individual solar rooftop owner who has the means to install solar. So, Mr. Chair, that I'm sort of answering questions with questions.
Mr. Underdahl, do you need me to restate the question before, can you,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the question. Again, Thor Underdahl with Minnesota Power. First, I would say that, in 2013, the state of Minnesota made a decision to pass the solar energy standard and the small scale standard. And as a regulated utility, whether we were for or against that, we take that direction and we move forward. And we've made investments. We've put together the operations necessary to support those investments. And as Mr. Lattag alluded to, we do have customers that are interested in being involved in self-generation, which we support. And we, again, are sensitive to the cost shifting of those items. And it's a good example of why we put forward our community solar garden program voluntarily, but with a closed cost system. So those costs were just borne by those individuals that chose to invest and lock in those rates over a 20 to 25-year period. So I think we're pretty far along the road right now to kind of unring the bell. Wouldn't necessarily be for the best of our customers or us as a utility, but we do think that we should create some flexibility in this to be respective of the differences that we faced in having a much different customer demographic and serving a much different demographic and geography in northern Minnesota. At the end of the day, if it's a 25 kW system, we still think that's pretty good. Compared to a solar energy credit from somewhere else. So back to caring or not caring about solar, I think we do when we're trying to get that 25 kW system or a community solar garden system that doesn't have to happen in lieu of a renewable energy credit from California or somewhere else. I'm not saying that will happen, but those are some of the potential scenarios, and we'd like to see it play out that way. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep, and Mr. Underdahl, just to be clear though, Minnesota Power was in 2013 when one political party, not the state of Minnesota, when one political party created these mandates, Minnesota Power was successful in getting themselves exempted from a significant portion of the cost by excluding a large portion of their rate base. And so my question is, and I appreciate that you've worked with Representative West to attempt to build consensus legislation here to address some of your ratepayers' concerns. Clearly, some of the advocates here do not value, or some of the opponents of your bill don't see it that way. I take a look at this bill and I go, why would we mandate us that we have an expensive way of reducing pollution when we can reduce pollution at a far lower cost? Well, so why shouldn't we just blow away the rooftop solar mandate so that we can more cost effectively reduce pollution?
Mr. Chair, again, I appreciate that question. I think we have to balance a myriad of stakeholders. So we have a variety of interests that we serve. We serve large power customers, as you alluded to, and we're very, very cost sensitive for those consumers. We serve individuals that really want to have the opportunity to self-generate. And some people have the ability to just purely invest by themselves and do that, and others don't. And there's a purist approach of doing anything, and then there's a understanding that the world is complicated approach and nuanced and gray. And I think that we understand that, and we serve a variety of interests in that manner, and that's why we think supporting this in a modified manner is a way in which that we can balance the needs of our customers while still not being completely unrecognizing the fact that this can be a more expensive form of energy.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Thanks for answering questions. And again, Representative West, I appreciate the efforts you're making on this, but clearly there are those who are, they're still opposed to your bill, so I just don't know why it hasn't brought us towards consensus. And I need somebody here to explain to me why we would mandate an expensive way of reducing pollution when we can create emissions-free, carbon-free energy sources at a fraction of the cost. And I just need someone to answer that question for me. Representative Mahoney, and then we'll go to Clark. Representative Mahoney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative West, your bill has, the testimony on your bill has kind of gone on a windy road, and just because I must not have gotten enough sleep last night, could you explain what your bill is going to do again for me? Because I'm trying to figure out 7 different subsidies or non-subsidies and Norwegians, which are always difficult, but.
Representative West, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative Mahoney. Well, what you hear, the biggest focus of the bill is.
All of them, not just the biggest focus.
Okay, the biggest, okay. Well, we'll start with the biggest and move on from there. Number one, it changes the small solar mandate, so 10% of the 1.5% the utility must acquire through solar means, small cell solar means. It raises the cap from 20 to 40 kilowatts. Now, 20 is absurdly small, as I'm sure you know. 40 is still very, very small, and this will just open up more opportunities for them to build solar. And like a small business will easily exceed 20 kilowatts of solar if it wanted to do solar on its property, and this would allow them to encourage them to do so even more. It also changes the long-term resource planning, that it takes into account energy needs rather than just capacity, and that's more or less a technical change. Nobody had an issue with that, as you can see from the testimony we had here. And it expands the list of factors that the PUC must consider when evaluating the preference for new renewable energy facilities. So right now, that list is rather narrow, and it must include cost and other things, which we can bring up a testifier if you have more questions on that point. And well, actually, those are the three big things it does. And then it also allows them to count towards that tiny sliver of the 10% of the 1.5% mandate. They can count subscribers to community solar gardens that are under this threshold, that are still small. And people brought up renewable energy credits and all that stuff, which this bill doesn't really handle those directly. Indirectly, it does decrease the amount of solar energy, renewable energy credits an organization would buy, which I think is a good thing, because if they're not buying those, that means they're investing more in solar. And I think most of this committee is supportive of the expansion of solar in Minnesota.
Representative Mahoney.
Two more questions. So what does your bill have to do with rooftop solar, which could easily go in an urban area, more easily than not?
Representative West.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Mahoney. Changing the cap on what's produced for accounting, that's what most of the aspect of that affects rooftop solar. So changing it to 20, even just a large house or a farm or something like that can easily exceed 20 kilowatts if it were to implement rooftop solar. Whereas a community like mine basically wouldn't. And that's why this is the focus in northern Minnesota, where it's hard to find houses like in my community that have the means to put solar on their roofs. This expands the options so more people can.
And then one
Representative
more
Mahoney.
question. Other than the two utilities, that your Minnesota Power and Otter Tail, does this affect other utilities in the state? So all the co-ops, all the munis, all the XL Energies of the world?
Representative West.
Mr. Chair, Representative Mahoney, you'll see on 1.16, a public utility between 50,000 and 200,000 retail electric customers. So that I believe only includes Minnesota Power and Otter Tail Power. Does not, XL is far above 200,000, and I believe the vast majority of munis, if not all of them, are under 50,000.
Thank you.
So, again, Representative West, I'll just kind of come back to my same question, and I'll open it up to the members of the committee or the public. Why would we mandate a very expensive way to reduce pollution and create emissions-free energy when there are more cost-effective ways to do it? Representative Clark, you're next on the list.
Mr. Chairman, I was just, this was more a question for you. When you were talking about emissions-free ways, would you tell me what you were referring to?
So Representative Clark, right now, we can get wind energy that's emissions-free for about $20 a megawatt hour. In other parts of the country, we see solar energy as low as $40 and $50 a megawatt hour. And these are emissions-free energy sources. They're renewable. Yet, we have a mandate on top of a mandate on top of a mandate with additional subsidies to incentivize this rooftop solar development. And there's nothing cleaner about solar energy that comes from panels that are drilled into the holes of a roof of a house and has a separate inverter, as opposed to an open field where you put all the solar panels out there and people buy individual panels. There's nothing the only thing that's different about it is cost. You still, in a community solar model, you still own that solar panel, you still get the generation from it. Literally, the only difference is one form is just a lot more expensive. You still own the clean energy, you're still producing clean energy, it's just a lot cheaper. And so I've asked the question, and someone can come down to the table and explain to me, I can restate the question a fourth time, but someone wants to come down and explain to me why we have this. Representative West, I appreciate the intent of your bill, but as I look at this, I'm like, why do we even have this mandate? I just need like one reason why it's in law. Yeah, anyone, really, come on down, seriously. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed to testimony.
Chairman Garofalo, Tom Karas, Minnesota Rec Exchange. There's a couple very specific answers to your question. But first, I appreciate our folks saying solar begets solar. Once you get it started, it gets going. And then to your very important point that we've reached some very low price points in utility scale delivery of clean energy. It's because that industry was allowed to blossom and grow. And this low price point that we have now is the result of a number of years of benefiting that industry. If you want to take the legs out from underneath this program and affect the smallest guy, this job is about energy choice, energy independence, and probably most importantly, it's about jobs for Minnesotans. I appreciate your interest, sir.
Yeah, but again, I don't think anyone's talking about eliminating the choice. I think what we're questioning is, why would we make neighbors pay for your expensive choice?
No, I don't think that's the question that you asked, but
Well, I think it is.
I will
Not that I don't ask
certainly,
it, but go ahead.
I will certainly answer that question as well, sir, because it's been proven through the number of years that we've had the value of solar tariff question that's been publicly debated in this state, that it's been proven beyond doubt, because it's being replicated in other places in this country, that distributed solar does have benefits to the grid. Currently, we aren't allowed to receive those benefits, but there are definitely benefits that go to the grid from a standpoint of capacity reduction, reliability, economic development. Think of the farmer at the very end of the distribution line that puts 40 kW of solar on his roof. When he's not using that solar and his excess is going onto the line, his neighbor a quarter mile up the road has a more reliable energy source. There's one reason or a couple reasons.
Right, but we're not talking about differentials of 5 or 10% in pricing here. We're talking about 1,000% more expensive energy than community solar.
At the start of these
But
industries.
hold on. There's nothing you guys are going to do to make it so you can't have an inverter. You need a separate inverter at every house.
Absolutely.
You need to drill holes in everyone's roof.
Absolutely.
And is there anything about that energy that is cleaner than if that person owns a solar panel in a field a block away?
No.
Right.
You are exactly right. It is the same electrons, same characteristics.
Thank you.
However, they have the choice of doing it, and they have a choice of drilling their roof.
Thank
It
you.
is
Sir.
their choice.
Additional testifiers to the question I asked? Good morning. Welcome to the committee, and please
Hi.
state your name for the record.
Jean Ross, Jeanross. On the jobs issue, clean renewable energy and of course solar panels fits into that mix, create many, many more jobs than a gasified power plant up in Becker that you guys think is perfectly okay for everybody to pay $1 billion for, that only creates 150 jobs. So I just don't see that you can pick on this little project because it's cost and effective, but it's okay to spend $1 billion in Becker for a gasified electric plant. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Representative West, you got any closing comments?
There's one more witness.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please come on down. My apologies. I didn't see you. Please state your name for the record.
Speak before, I'm Amy Blumenshine.
Thank you, Amy.
And to answer specifically your question, I will just repeat that energy resilience is also a benefit as you speak about the difference in these kinds of power generation. Of course, those of us who care about the climate are interested in having solar power in large scale and in small scale. And it's kind of all, full throttle ahead in developing this. And that's why Germany is ahead of us in these kinds of developments. We experience, those of us who've gone the solar route, experience so many blockages by those who are supposedly a part of this, that it's we support solar in all forms. It makes no sense, and again, in the sense aspect, you have to think about the there is a line cost in terms of the energy that gets transmitted at a distance. Very few of us are a block away from a solar farm, and I would hate to think of having to depend on Arizona for electricity. I mean, they might say, well, we won't give you electricity if you don't give us water or something like that. I mean, we've always wanted to do our own thing here in Minnesota. And I speak for solar production in all its forms, because that is the resilient method of going forward.
And to the testifier, I don't mean to belabor this point, but how is an intermittent resource more resilient?
Oh, it's part of a package. Obviously, it's part of a package of energy resources. And this has all been developed and explained. We're really far down the road in both technology and awareness of what we need in the future. We cannot depend on the depleted fossil fuels.
Right, and I understand that debate, but the community solar accomplishes everything you want. It gives you private ownership. It gives you 100% emissions-free energy. It gives you your term resiliency, but it does it at a much lower cost than putting an inverter on everyone's house. And so I don't understand why people would advocate for that.
Well, I don't think anyone's advocating for an inverter on everyone's house.
Well, that's, with rooftop solar, you need an inverter.
No, I know that I need an inverter, but I also think that there are better and worse places to put rooftop solar, just like there are better and worse places to put solar farms. And I don't believe it's in the spirit of either this bill or the general thinking to promote solar. We do want to promote solar. That's the bottom line.
Representative Wagenius.
I just want to remind the committee that last year, the LCCMR recommended a University of Minnesota research project that used something other than silica to make solar in rolled form, the kind of stuff that 3M does, and said this was going to be far cheaper and far easier to install than our current methodologies. That was an interesting thing that LCCMR heard, and before absolutely making the final recommendation, it was peer-reviewed, and turned out, wow, this is not only interesting, it's happening nationally. So why can't Minnesota be on the cutting edge? But I remember you in this committee saying, we kill that, and you were responsible for killing that. That has been recommended again by LCCMR, and it was taken out in the Environment Committee. Yet, if this professor went ahead and did what he said he was going to do, and the peer reviewers said, yes, he can do what he said he's going to do, Minnesota would actually have, and it's patented, we know it's going to be patented, Minnesota would actually get return on that dollar, because the way LCCMR works is if the state puts in some money, there is a patent and it's developed, that money comes back to Minnesota. That portion of the money comes back to Minnesota. So we are on the edge. When new things are out there, they're generally more expensive, like TVs, but the price drops precipitously. The price of solar is dropping precipitously. And I think your argument might be okay, except you have cut the legs out from under one of the most promising things for Minnesota that we have. So I can't be persuaded by your argument if we're not going to do the kind of investment in solar that we do in so many other things. And I like it. I mean, you had investment in biofuels up here. Good for you. Very expensive right now. Extremely expensive. So why are we treating biofuels differently than solar?
Well, part of it is the revenue source, right? I mean, you're talking about using the LCCMR for it, and I'm talking about using the Renewable Development Fund for it. So that's an important difference, Representative Wagenius.
I don't see the difference.
Well, I certainly see the difference, so. And that is correct. That is why I killed it last year, and that's why I'll kill it this year. Representative West, do you have any closing comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, although I think the discussion went far and wide beyond the scope of this bill. And I just want to add, if this bill did make the chair happy, you would see every single solar industry representative, Fresh Energy, Mencia, lining up to testify on this, against this bill. And they are not opposed to this bill, which I think is an important distinction to make. And thank you for hearing me, and I'd renew my motion to lay this over for possible inclusion in a later bill.
Thank you, Representative West. Representative West renews his motion to have House File 1882 as amended laid over for possible inclusion in a later bill. Thank you. Members, we are now going to recess to the call of the chair. We are going to be in room Capitol 120 at approximately 6 p.m. One request, please. Please put any bill we didn't hear back in your packet. We don't want to waste any paper. So please go through those and make sure to put them back in there. And again, we are back at 6 p.m., approximately 6 p.m., over in room 120 of the Capitol. We are recessed to the call of the chair. Thank you.